Welcome back to Mass Appeal. It's time for Savings Appeal, and today we're joined by Dylan Bond. He's the owner of Bond Financial Services, and he's here to share tips on planning your retirement. Today, distribution strategies.
That's right.
It's a pleasure to have you here, by the way.
It's great to be here.
Distribution strategies basically mean you need to know when you retire, how much money you have, and how you're going to get rid of it.
Yeah, I think the first thing to think about when it comes to retirement planning is there's two phases. There's the accumulation phase. That's when you start working after school. You start in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, you're accumulating money. You're looking for growth of that money for somewhere down the road where you'll use it for retirement. The distribution phase is when you get to retirement, you can't afford to still have the same investment strategies that you had throughout the course of your life because you no longer have the time to make up for those big swells in volatility in the stock market. And unfortunately, a lot of people out there don't ever recognize that, and they end up in a position like we had in 2008 where they plan to retire, and just before they do, the market crashes 37%, their 401k values become 201ks, and then they have to wait 5 or 6 years just to get back to where they were.
But if people had believed in that rule of 100 or these simple investment strategies and learned over time that you're going to need to change the way that you invest your money, they'd be a little better off.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, the sooner you start thinking about it, and we try to get people that are 50 and older, at 50 years old, if you plan to retire around 60, 65, you've got 10 to 15 years to start thinking about the retirement planning process. And there's a lot of different things you can do. A lot of 401k plans out there allow you to do what are called in-service withdrawals. So you can move money out of your 401k prior to retiring. Now, usually the triggering event there is 59 and a half years of age. Once you turn 59 and a half, that becomes an option to you. That gives you the ability to move money out and start setting it up differently for when you walk out the door. Whereas the 401k might have very limited strategies available in it. Most of them are very passive, benchmark-driven stock mutual funds.
And you never realize sometimes with the 401k, let's say you have $100,000 in there, once you take it out, you have that tax hit.
It's a tax issue. So you also have to think about taxes when you're creating an income plan. What we do is we sit down with people when we're getting close to retirement, and we'll start layering in the income sources. If they have pensions, we'll consider that. If they have Social Security, we'll consider that. A lot of people have questions as to when to take Social Security. What we do is we have software systems that can help us make that decision. But really, the ultimate decision is going to be: do you need it now, or can you afford to wait? Do you have other sources of income, whether it's 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs, so on and so forth, that you can afford to take money out along the way, so that down the road you can then take a higher Social Security to continue on. So there's a lot of things you got to think about.
Well, and sometimes there's a lot of hard questions that you have to ask yourself too, because you need to figure out, if I have X amount of money, you have to figure out how many years roughly am I going to live.
You know, when we meet with people for the first time, we give them an organizer, a 5-page organizer to get filled out before the meeting. And one page is a budget worksheet. And I can tell you right now that one of the most important pieces of information that you can provide to yourself to make good decisions in retirement is creating a budget worksheet, figuring out what it is that you spend every month, okay, and line item, make a spreadsheet, so that you know what you're spending and what you're spending it on. I have countless people come in and say, this was the most helpful thing I ever did. I wish I did it 20 years ago, because it identifies a lot of expenses that they didn't even know they had.
Well, and it's those little things that add up,
it's
too.
All the little
it's that
things.
latte,
the latte
principle.
Effect.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you spend 100 grand throughout your life on a latte,
Correct.
and you're not going to have it when you retire.
Yep.
If you plan well, even if the market goes down, you're going to be okay because you've changed your investment strategies over the years.
Right. Well, you know, I call it reverse dollar cost averaging. It's something people need to look out for in retirement. If you are going to plan to take a fixed income off of a fixed value, the last thing you need is to put it in a place where it's going to go up and down with the market. Because while it does that well while you're accumulating money over your working years, if you're taking a fixed percentage or fixed income, out of your retirement account to provide lifestyle for yourself, and the market's going up and down and swinging 15-20% in either direction, when it goes down, you have to take more shares out to provide the same amount of income.
So dollar cost averaging is then lower.
Exactly. So what ends up happening is you have a higher probability of running out of money sooner if the market is as volatile as we anticipate it being over time.
There's a lot of ignorance out there, Dylan, and there's also a lot of information that needs to be disseminated because things are changing. People can always check out some of your seminars.
Absolutely. We do. We try to do seminars every week. We have them coming up in the next couple of weeks. We have them at the Villa Rose in Ludlow, Massachusetts on April 2nd and April 10th. And then we're going to also have them at Tucker's Restaurant in the second 2 weeks of April, and that is going to be in Southwick, Massachusetts. And they start at 6 o'clock. Seating is limited. They're geared for people 50 and older getting ready to retire.
You have to make a reservation first with George at your
Absolutely.
office.
Call George at the office. It's 413-754-4747. Talk to George. He has all the availability, and he can answer all those questions.
Dylan, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah.
Another good segment, and you can visit bondfinancialservices.net or give Dylan or George a call, 413-754-4747. Just let Dylan, George, Rosie, everybody take the steps to secure your financial future.